Jacob Kacharian is a criminal lawyer who will not promise you the world just to sail you up the river. With his experience and skills, you get a defense attorney that is truly by your side, defending you at every stage of the prosecution, including a jury trial where he's had over a 92% success rate for his clients. Whether it's a DUI, domestic violence, or even something as serious as murder, Jacob is the guy you need by your side. That's Jacob Kacharian, attorney at law. Call 323-880-4000 for Jacob Kacharian, criminal defense.
Thank you.
This is Maurice Jones-Drew, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show network, with your hosts, Jake Berryfield and Mike Regalado, and occasionally some friends, talking all things UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
Well, hello and welcome to What's Bruin. I am your host, Jake Merrifield, and if you couldn't tell, I'm talking to you from a car, my car, in fact, parked on a unnamed road in Sherman Oaks. Doing a quick little CarCast introduction to the podcast that Mike did by himself just last night, and we will publish this on Wednesday afternoon because it's just, as Mike will detail, it's just a busy week for both of us. I've got a culmination, a graduation, a daughter going to overseas, and a 25th anniversary, of course, as me and my wonderful wife, Sarah. That's actually today on Wednesday. So all my love goes out to my wonderful wife. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm just doing a quick intro here to take care of a little housekeeping that Mike was unaware of. Number one, we have a new subscriber on the Patreon feed, so thank you so much to Steve for subscribing. That's patreon.com/whatsbruinshow or just whatsbruinshow.com. You can also get us on the Substack, which is listed below in the show notes, and you can get your What's Bruin merch at the website in the show notes as well. But yeah, thanks to Steve. And anybody else out there who wants to subscribe, it's just $2 a month to send the What's Bruin Show into the future, or just a little bit more on the Substack, and we appreciate all of that. You will get access to our Slack channel. Hit me up, Steve, and I will send that to you, or I'll just send it to you when I get back to work. Or and also we'll do some bonus pods now and again, although not this week. It's been very busy, and I apologize for that. And also we have a What's Bruin hotline call from Carrie, 805-399-4WBS, Sacramento, Troy. And here is Carrie to share her thoughts.
Hi, What's Bruin Show? It's Carrie. I really enjoyed your last show. I'm sure all of us are, I'm very sad about the passing of Bill Walton. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like having a basketball season without him. He's such a joy, and it's like I'm still sad about this. I think Rick Carlisle described him as defiantly competing for every moment in life to be its best, or something like that. And it's really apropos. But we lost such a great. Yeah. Anyway, so I just want to say that, and I'm on the upside. I'm continuing to be impressed by Deshaun Foster and picking up just a great bunch of new recruits and transfers, and the latest one being Madden, and I will not try to pronounce his last name for fear of butchering it, but it's really exciting, and I feel like others are starting to see Deshaun as someone who's confidently taking the helm, and if he continues on this path, it should be a pretty decent season, beyond probably our initial expectations. So really good news. Yeah, that's it. I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for your broadcasts. I really enjoy them. And go Bruins. A postscript. I forgot to say how much I enjoy Leo the Librarian's rundowns of the Olympic sports. It's very informative and entertaining. So shout out to Leo. I really appreciate it. And I think that's it. All right, go Bruins.
Thank you, Carrie, as always, for calling the What's Bruin hotline and keeping the show hotline alive. Mike's going to share his thoughts on Bill Walton. I'll give a couple of mine, too, as well, at the end. As far as UCLA football goes, I am moving into the cautiously optimistic camp more and more as the news unfolds for this team and looking at their going into the conference and what it's going to look like. But we won't know until we actually start playing games and seeing how they look on the field and how the coaches on the field. But yeah, it certainly is better than it could or than it might have been. So very thankful for that. And Carrie, thank you very much for calling. Good job. And I also would like to shout out Leo, the library guy. That's been very great to hear his updates, and I appreciate it when he does call in. I'm sure we'll get some softball news as they head off to the World Series after kicking the crap out of Georgia, which is very happy to see that. So looking forward to the softball that remains, and hopefully the Bruins can make a nice run, continue their nice run, I should say. A very pleasant way to end the year if it happens. But with that being said, Mike's I'm gonna kick it over to Mike now, and he'll just do a whole nother proper introduction because I don't think he knew we didn't know if I was going to do an intro or not. So I will send you over to Mike for his What's Bruin show, and then I'll pop back on at the end a little bit to talk about my thoughts on Bill Walton, and then that'll be that. So, and we'll hear from you. We'll talk to you again next week. So thank you very much. Here's Mike.
And welcome to What's Bruin, a show about anything and everything Bruin sports. I am your host, Mike Rigolato, and tonight we have a bit of a short show, but one that needs to be discussed as UCLA is a worldwide brand, and even though it is not in seasons for a lot of its major sports, go softball. The Bruins. They're just always in the news, and especially this week, they're a bit of sad news. But we'll get into all of that. But if you have any questions for us, you can email us at whatsbruinshow@gmail.com. Check us out at whatsbruin.substack.com, wbwestcoastbias.substack.com, and the bare minimum.substack.com. 3 fantastic shows that just keep you on the edge of your seat sports-wise and education-wise and just in general cultural-wise. Wow, all these different sounds are coming out now. I am unfortunately not with Jake. It is it's a time of year where for those that not especially if you're parents, but if you are one with younger brethren, not even younger brethren, it's graduation across the board, baby. Go Bruins, Graduation season is upon us, culminations, all that good stuff. So, and Jake has an anniversary this week. So cheers to him and Mrs. Merrifield. But yeah, he also has graduations to deal with, as do I. So we're trying to cram this in. We're trying to give you as much information on a weekly basis as we can. So thank you very much for sticking with us, despite the fact that there's not a lot, but there always is. You can also reach us on the WBS hotline, 805-399-4WBS. Suck it. Brandon Troy. So we're just going to get into a few things here and there. Just really quickly, I just wanted to address the fact that UCLA great and just overall amazing human being, Bill Walton, passed away on Monday to cancer, and it was definitely a shock to everybody, literally everybody. This is a man that everybody loved. I'm not going to get into that. Everybody loved Bill Walton. Everybody that mattered loved Bill Walton because he was a man that he just enjoyed life. And I think that is, especially in his later years, that is what a lot of people took from him, is that he was able to see greatness in everything. He was always happy. Aside from a few weird quirks and like, dude, did you just smoke out right now? Because you're just like rambling on right now. He had everything good to say about everyone, especially in the sports world. And obviously he is, this is a UCLA podcast, and he went to UCLA, and so he's definitely in our hearts. So it really sucks. It came out of nowhere. But what death, is like, oh, hey, well, I saw that coming. Sorry, I'm not trying to belittle. I'm trying to use a little bit of humor to make this a little bit more digestible, because it sucks. Because there are people in your life that when they pass on, it is just it hurts. I remember when my mother passed away a few years ago, there was a good month where I just felt numb, just could not shake it. Nothing I could do could move that. And we've had some deaths in the What's Bruin family, extended family, and we've all dealt with it. Obviously, we don't want to bring it onto the airwaves, but it's just something that you do. It's something that you get through with your family, with your friends, and I'm very glad for Jake and Bill and Jamaal to be there for me when my mom passed away, as I was there as much as I could be for when they had significant losses, when all of my friends have significant losses. And then there are those losses that you don't know the person, but it still affects you. You invest yourself in it. You invest yourself in someone like Bill Walton, who not only was he was everything. Bill Walton was freaking everything, from originally starting out with everybody knowing him as Big Red, as one of the most dominant college centers of all time, next to a fellow Bruin, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor at the time, who is definitely my favorite player of all time. So you have that, but you also have his antics at UCLA, good and bad. That famous story about him needing to get a haircut before the first practice of the season, and kind of testing, sparring a little bit with Coach John Wooden about not cutting his hair, and Bill Walton was like, yeah, it's my hair, I want to keep it this way, it's my decision, I'm a man. And Coach, I'm saying I'm butchering this, but basically Coach Wooden said, that's fine, you could do whatever you want with your hair, but I'm the coach and I can I set the lineups. And apparently he was out the door in no time. From the fact that he was protesting the Vietnam War, to the fact that he literally hugs trees, to the fact that he absolutely loves the Grateful Dead. I mean, this is a man who transcended culture and genres and just everything, because he was just that guy who loved life. And especially as, yes, he for some, he was a bit annoying as an announcer. For me, I absolutely loved him. One, because he brought a different perspective, a different approach to announcing. He took color commentating to a whole new level. This guy stopped using watercolors and started using paintballs. He just loved to talk about all schools, and he was a huge proponent of the Pac-12. And I do remember that first, and he didn't really say much, but he didn't have to. The first recorded take, when he was asked about the fall of the Pac-12, is like it looked like he was a bit heartbroken, and I get it. But this is a man that celebrated life, that celebrated the sport of basketball, that celebrated individuals. He loved everybody, and that's why this is a little hard for especially for some, like I was saying, when there are people you don't actually know but you invest in them. It hurts when they go away, because there's never going to be another Bill Walton. Who's going to pick up the mantle of being kind of like the anarchist on the Pac-12 network, calling games with Dave Pasch? No one, I tell you, that's who. But it was, it's just been very tough, and like I said before, he transcended basketball, and, even like music, like John Mayer sent a tribute to him. The Grateful Dead, his favorite band, they sent out a tribute to him. Journalists, reporters, newspapers, the Blazers, UCLA basketball, the Celtics. Kareem. It was just a bit tough going through all of this on that Monday, on Memorial Day of all days. And then it was like, you get through it. It's like, I don't know him. I've met him a few times, but he's Bill Walton. He's so cool. But wake up Monday morning, you turn on the social medias, and there's this cartoon of him in the clouds being, with a tie-dye t-shirt and angel wings. And he's being led through the clouds by Coach John Wooden. And Coach Wooden says to him, Bill, you played a magnificent game. And indeed he did that. And UCLA mourns the loss of this fantastic man. The world mourns the loss of this fantastic man. And I just wanted to say that little piece because, like I said, there are very few deaths that affect us all. The first one for me, Kurt Cobain, not going to lie. The second one for me, Coach John Wooden. Third, David Bowie. No lies. And this is a pretty big one. One of the bigger ones that, kind of heroes, people that you admire, even from a distance. Definitely affects, your thoughts on life and the game and the sport and the part of pop culture where they originate from. But rest in peace, Senor Walton. He was awesome, dude. I tried to hook up an interview with him so many times, but he's a man on the move, and now he gets to move anywhere and everywhere he pleases. So that's just a quick little chat about Mr. Walton. Just an amazing human being, and we're very sad for the fact that the world loses a great man. All right, enough of that. We do have news to chat about, and really quickly, this one kind of came out of nowhere. UCLA women's basketball gets a big-time transfer from Jania Barker, who is a transfer from Texas A&M. A 6'4" forward, originally from Georgia, and I believe she was supposed to go to Georgia, but decided on going to Texas A&M, where she played the last 2 seasons. Has been made quite an effect on the Aggies. Last season, she averaged 12.2 points, shot 47.9% from the field. She was also second in rebounding on the team with 7.6. But a bigger reason for her coming onto the squad is that she adds some much needed depth in the front court, as UCLA lost 3 forwards about a month ago, as it were. They were able to get Tamia Gardner from Oregon State, a forward, to transfer to UCLA, which definitely helped with the depth in the front court. But this just adds another element to it, and it secures a 13th scholarship. Women's basketball is allowed 15 per season, and this just gives UCLA an extra weapon, on the roster, and it's really good too, because so this blew my mind when I was researching this. Barker was the number 3 overall prospect in the 2022 recruiting class. That is the same class as Lauren Betts, Kiki Rice, and Tamia Gardner. That means Corey Close has, from the 2022 recruiting class, the number 1 recruit, Lauren Betts, the number 2, Kiki Rice, the number 3... This is awesome. Number 3, Jania Barker, and number 6, as it were, Tamia Gardner. And then, what was it? I think Gabriela Jaquez was 19th and London Jones 22nd. So this is definitely a huge pickup. And it's definitely going to help with, as I said, depth in the front court. But what does that mean specifically for this team? It's unfortunate that the Bruins lose Emily Bessoir, because she was a quite an impressive stretch 4, and this past season, Angela Duglich has taken up that reign. But it would have been nice to have another potential stretch for, but at least someone who's tough around the boards and is able to get rebounds, because whether she is in the starting lineup or backs up Lauren Betts, she's going to be able to get UCLA some rebounds and add to their effective defense. So that's pretty fantastic for the Bruins. I was very happy when this came about. I was like, didn't see that one coming. But what else do we have? It's not, we're still a ways away from football season. But, so last week I gave a preview of a story that just came out, actually on Tuesday. I was a bit lazy last week. Okay, no, it wasn't laziness. It literally is the fact that there are graduations all over the place. I'm exhausted. Presentations, graduations, culminations, salutations. Yeah, I got no rhyming words for that. Anyway, so I worked on this for a little bit, but I looked at, I talked about this with Jake last week, comparing UCLA's 2023 offensive stats to that of the Big Ten. And I looked at scoring offense, total offense, passing offense, and rushing offense. And there was, I had a few caveats. Even though I'm comparing the stats to the Big Ten, one, UCLA didn't play a Big Ten team. So obviously these stats would have been different. UCLA also had 70% of their statistical production return after spring. So there is a shift, but there is also losses as well. But they also bring in some transfers. The big one is that Chip Kelly's not here anymore. It's going to be a completely different offense under Deshaun Foster and Eric Bieniemy. So we have no idea what this actually means. But I just kind of wanted to give a perspective of what UCLA has been able to do compared to what the Big Ten has been able to do. And I don't want to get into it too much, especially on the defensive side, because I did talk about that last week. So that means you should go back to last week and check out that podcast if you haven't already. Dun, dun, dun. The thing that I thought about, the thing that really took hold of me when doing all this research is that the Pac-12, which was a very good conference last season, it was more of an offensive-minded conference as opposed to the Big Ten, which is more of a defensive-minded conference. It's still, UCLA was pretty high ranking in both in a lot of those statistical stat categories, and essentially they basically held their own. But there is a difference. Would UCLA's offense have been that effective against the very potent Big Ten defenses? Also, would UCLA have an advantage with their really tough defense, really proven defense from last year against a lot of soft Big Ten offenses? And one of the things that, beyond what UCLA can do comparatively, the thing that really interested me was the fact that last season, the Pac-12 total offense per game across the board was 443.3 yards per game. Total offense for every Pac-12 team. For the Big Ten, it was 343.7. Almost exactly 100 yards less than the Pac-12. Pretty insane, right? When you look at total defense, the Pac-12 across the board, 382.6 yards allowed per game. The Big Ten, 306.3. Quite significantly better on defense across the board than the Pac-12, which that's kind of known. I mean, for example, and UCLA had a good defense last season, but on defense, UCLA allowed 18.4 points per game. That is only that would have been sixth in the Big Ten. Freaking Michigan only allowed 9.5 points per game. Incredible. Although that's not going to be the case for Michigan going forward, which I'm going to talk about in the defensive story, because they lose a lot of people. A lot. Total defense. UCLA only allowed 301.5. That would have only been fifth. Like, Penn State only allowed 223.3. Only allowed 223.3. And UCLA was the fifth, would have been fifth in the Big Ten last season. But they would have impressed. Not with passing defense per se, but because the Bruins allowed 220.8 yards per game, which would have been 11th in the Big Ten. Rushing defense, completely different story. They only allowed 80.8, and that would have been second only to Penn State, who allows 69.7 points per game. Now, the defense, I think the defense will be a lot more, between the defense and the offense, the defense is going to look a lot more like its 2023 self than the offense is. Akaika Malloy is taking over the defense, which loses a defensive coordinator, a few coaches, as well as significant contributors on the defensive line. But they also return a lot of players, and Malloy, who was a part of that defense last year, is said he was going to try to continue that style of defense. So there will be a step back just because you lose so much talent up front. But they were able to load in the transfer portal, which should help them improve on that side of the ball. I think it'll be a gradual ascension towards the end of the season, but it is still up in the air. The offense is the big question with UCLA football, but who knows? We talked about the S&P Plus, which came out last week, and UCLA was 26 on it. Just outside the top 25. That is something I would not have. I don't think I would have predicted. But things are trending up for UCLA since the end of the season. They've gotten in some key transfers. They just got to put it together. They got to get on the field and work on exactly what they want to do. They got to figure out their identity offensively. They got to figure out how they're going to attack offensively. And they're going to need to figure out how to retain that defensive punch that they had last year, sans some key contributors. But anyway, so yeah, those are just a few things I just wanted to chat about. We will be back next week. Probably with a secret guest. We'll see. But yeah, thank you for listening. Do I have a What's Brewing? Yeah, I'm tired. That's what's brewing. I have graduations, culminations, and saturations. And although, as for a watch this show, I've heard for so long about this movie Control, which is about Ian Curtis of Joy Division. Finally saw it this week. Very depressing, but very. If you're a fan of Joy Division, it hits all the right spots musically, and it shows how the band came about, and also showed how Curtis got lost in his later days. But a very good show. Yeah, and oh my god. Okay, so just because I was like tired and I was like just looking at stuff, Ted the TV show. Okay, that's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. I gotta say. Anyway, we will be back next week. Exhausted, tired, shells of our former selves, but we do it for you people. And I mean, all you people. We love you very much. Have a good night, everyone. Take care. And go Bruins.
Okay, once again, thanks to Mike for putting together a show. I know it was hard for us to get. We had a plan this week, and they didn't come together, so we're just kind of making it work. He's recording in between gigs, and I'm recording from my car at lunch. Sometimes it's just what you got to do to keep the What's Bruin show going. But just real quick, my thoughts on Bill Walton. Number one, my thoughts on Bill Walton are about as uncomplicated as you could get. Especially talking about someone that, none of us, unless you actually knew the man, I don't understand how you might have anything but positive things to say about him. And it's wonderful to see all the outpouring of love and affection for him, who was, by all accounts, just a positive force in so many different ways. Mike talked about the anecdote, back from when he was in college, the student athlete protesting, kind of trying to stick to the man and then getting checked by John Wooden. Those stories are wonderful, right? And of course, he was part of some of the greatest basketball teams in college history. So all that, just being a Bruin is, he was one of the best Bruins, right? As far as athletically, just an absolutely terrific representative of the school, and I don't think anyone could ask for more, and he will be sorely missed in that regard. And just personally, it's funny, but my basketball fandom has gone since I was a teenager, and I think Walton has always been a part of it, no matter what part of his career he was at. I'm too young to remember him as an NBA player in his prime when he won the title with the Trailblazers. I wasn't quite a hardcore Laker fan when he was with the Celtics competing with Showtime. So all of my memories of Walton as a Celtic are kind of retroactive, so to speak, me going back after I became a huge Laker fan and like looking at the history of those mid-'80s teams, because, I was aware of them, but I wasn't a hardcore fan back then. But still, just his legacy as a player, even though it will always be characterized to some degree by the injuries he suffered, he was still, just one of the all-time greats and played on some all-time great teams. And that is, it's just a wonderful part of his legacy. And that's not even taking into account all of his career accolades. And just as a broadcaster, just one of those unique voices in sports. And whether he was your cup of tea or not, you couldn't deny that he had a style all of his own. And towards the end, I think he leaned into it a little, very heavily, right? But even before he became what he was towards the end of his broadcasting career, he always was just a unique voice in basketball. And it was just a tremendous addition to basketball culture as a whole. And there's so many people out there saying so many nice things about him that could say it with a lot more experience and a lot more perspective than I can. So I'll just leave that part at that. But just from my own personal experience with him, and I ran into him a couple times and talked to him a couple times, and he couldn't have been a nicer guy and just thoughtful. And I was just running into him in the context of just being a fan and running into him at games and things, right? But he took some time and chatted for a minute, and just a real all around. Not that tells you what a person's like, but it certainly is a point in which someone could make a negative impression, and he never did with me. And for all I know, he was a guy that treated pretty much everybody around him the right way, and people loved and respected him, and that's good enough for me. In today's day and age, you hate to see someone taken at, in their early 70s. It just doesn't seem like, it seems like that's too soon. I don't know how public his battle with cancer was. That's what finally took him down. But he did have physical problems that caused him pain through a lot of his adult life. And he never let that really affect how, his work product or seemingly how he treated people. And I think that's another thing that he should be very much appreciated and lauded for. But, however you slice it, look, was he a head of state or a world diplomat solving the world's problems through diplomacy, or no? But as far as the basketball world goes, he was one of the greats. And as far as a human being, by all accounts, just a good dude. And so he will be missed. Rest in peace, Bill Walton. Okay, that about does it for us. Once again, thanks to Mike for putting the show together. I will publish this, and then I will get on with all the events of this week. We'll be back with you on Tuesday, I believe, and then, I'm sure I'll have something to say for What's Bruin, but we'll cut that short right now. And thank you for listening once again. Subscribe on Patreon, subscribe on the Substack, show notes for all the details. And until next time, go Bruins.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em. That was the What's Bruin Show.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's gotta be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, Rob, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.